because it's confusing. Okay, hello folks. We had a little technical problem. You might be expecting this at 7:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific, but we're doing it at the top of the hour, 30 minutes earlier because of schedule problems for people. And tonight, I am wearing.
Good. Go Red Sox.
A team that has won the World Series as recently as 1908. Now, we're looking at Natural Light, which some people are going to roll their eyes, but we're not, because it's been on the market for 38 years, and it was actually the first light beer produced by Anheuser-Busch. What's all that tapping? Okay. Ooh, a lot of smoke here.
Wasn't it like the third or fourth best-selling beer in 2014 last year?
Yeah.
Now,
you guys can mute me if you want. I'm almost home.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. You take care of them, Eric. If you hear any tapping or noise, mute them.
Well, yeah, Keone's on the road trying to get home, so let's mute you for the moment, Keone.
We gotta invite Jean Pierre.
Yep.
I think he's not at town, but he might. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, getting back to this beer, it was introduced in 1977, and they got into the game late. And I think John, Sharon, and others here, Beer Cup, know what I'm talking about. Tell us what I mean, getting in the game late. Look at that beard. You know what I mean, getting in the game late?
No, I'm lost.
They were trying to catch up with
Miller. Natural Light by Miller was introduced nationally in 1975, and it was a firestorm. Now, here today, 40 years later, we're thinking, it's light beer, no one cares. This is the craft beer world. But 40 years ago, when Light by Miller hit, it was major. It was like as big as craft beer is today now. Some of y'all...
That's great. Last Philly.
Right, some of you all know that.
It was probably hit bigger than craft beer back then.
Right, I was 7 years old, but it was like a major thing. And then some companies, like Schlitz, came out with Schlitz Light in 1975, so they kind of got into it early, although it did seem to catch them off guard too. And then Anheuser-Busch, they said, that's a fad. We make Budweiser, and we make Budweiser malt liquor, and nobody's going to drink light beer. In 3 or 4 years, no one's going to drink it. And then they realize they are going to drink it. And then some newspaper articles came out about how Miller was using all sorts of additives. Yep, there's a can of Schlitz Light. And that was an embarrassment to Miller that they were using additives. So Anheuser-Busch said, not only can we get into this, we can get into it with an interesting angle, that our beer is natural. It uses only water, barley malt, hops, yeast, and corn. But it uses no additives or preservatives. So that was their big thing, natural. None of this chemical stuff. And so that was always the focus, natural. Okay.
But Jay, a lot of people think that Miller Lite was the first light beer that was invented. It's really false. It was not.
No, but it was the first major national light beer.
It was the first mass-produced light beer.
Yeah, big-time light beer. They had some other off-the-wall stuff like Meisterbrow Light.
Meisterbrow was the first light beer that came out on the market.
Yeah, and it did nothing.
No.
So then Miller took something that was nothing and made it into what it is today. One of the top-selling beers in the country. Natural Light is one of the top-selling beers, and of course the #1 beer in the world, or in America at least, is Bud Light. Now, yep, that's the ingredients. Now, you remember it, 1977 to 82, some of y'all are old enough to remember this, all the commercials they used to push for Natural Light. They had major commercials with that guy, JJ, what was his name? He was a comedian.
JJ.
Yeah, you can call me Ray. Ray, you can call me Jay, and you can call me Ray J, but you doesn't have to call me Johnson. I'm a marketer's dream kid.
And I remember the ones
kind of like, they made him out to be some kind of like mental case at a bar who would hang out, and everybody else would say, okay, all right. And but it was kind of comical, and Natural Light was a pretty big product, and it was sold as a premium beer, not a budget beer like today.
Yeah, I think their other tagline back then was the beer with the taste for food. You guys remember those commercials?
Yeah, and they would show all kind of really good-looking food with the beer
Yeah.
behind it,
Yeah.
lobster, all kind of stuff. So then, but it wasn't as big as they wanted it to be, and then they knew they could use that magic word. So in 1982, they came out with Budweiser Light, which very soon is about to be brought back to its origins. They got a new label coming out that's going to look a lot like the 1982 label. And well, that became such a big hit, Budweiser Light, soon to be called Bud Light, that they didn't need two premium light beers, so they took natural and they slotted it down to budget. And they already had a premium, an above premium light beer called Michelob Light, which they still make, and is still available close to me, but not exactly popular at all. And but the second most popular light beer they have today, we all know, is Michelob Ultra, which is the ultra light beer. Not that lower in calories, though.
But not
well,
ultra like beer on the market.
Yeah, and then they had that Select 55 from Budweiser, which is so light, it's like a little kid could drink it and they would not get drunk. No, I mean, literally, I think a little kid, I'm not endorsing that.
Yeah, right.
I'm not endorsing it. I'm saying it's so light that it would, I can't see how it could affect anybody. But okay, everybody here has had natural light, I'm sure, huh?
Yes.
On many occasions.
Now, Nate K said he wants to join us, or he could join us, or he might join us, but he hasn't joined us. We were talking about this beer off air, so let's get into it. And since we have our Western friends back in the mix this week, and then Keone's trying to get home.
Yep.
People leave work early for these hangouts, folks. All right, we're going to go out to Beer Cub and Michelle in the Big Sky country, so water, barley, malt, cereal grains, and hops and yeast. That's right. The cereal grains are corn syrup, you know. But what we all know what it looks like. There's no use talking for 20 minutes about how it looks. It's going to be what? Straw-colored, clear, super filtered, with white head and bubbles, like everybody in their life has seen light beer. That's not worth talking about. So let's just look at the flavor and the aroma, which I think that's going to be pretty obvious too. And we know the price is low relative to other beers.
Yeah, not a great deal going on with the aroma here, as you would expect. Just kind of some grainy sweetness is about all I get, and even less as it goes down in the glass. And the flavor, similar, watered down lager. I think the last time I had one of these, I was in college, so it's been a while.
Wow, 5 years ago, huh?
Yeah, more like 30 years ago.
In a word, my review is, I get a little sour, tangy on the back of my tongue and a little bit of fizz and not much flavor at all, and not even, maybe if I was really, really hot and it was really, really cold and I was really, really thirsty, it would taste good to me. But it's the middle of winter in Wyoming. I am neither hot.
2 days before Christmas.
It's warm down here. We're in the upper 70s this week, so. But none of us, I don't think, on this hangout are what you call light beer drinkers. So everybody has to take that into consideration. We're not. I mean, we examine it because it exists, but we're not like big-time light beer drinkers. So we're not trying, and some people are going to watch it and get angry and say, hey, I do like this beer, and I love light beer, and don't start being a snob and putting down on beer. We're not here to do that.
No, I'm not putting it down. It's just not my thing at all. That's
right.
Just, straight up, there's probably, if you gave me 10 light beers, I probably wouldn't really like any of them. I might like some of them more than others. I'm like Paul, I drank this in college, and that was more than a few years ago.
I'm just like you, really, when you get down to it. But, okay, now we got out in the rural, semi-rural part of California. Eric, what do you think about it? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say. And then we're going to go to Southern California.
Yeah.
More south, I mean.
SoCal. I mean, it's pretty,
poured it, immediately goes flat. The head almost disappears. It's just there's no like pop to this beer. It's just you know what I actually like what she said about it having almost a sour taste because I didn't really something I wasn't thinking of. But once she said that, I kind of clicked and I took a sip and I actually kind of agree with that. There almost is like a almost sour twinge to this beer.
Yeah.
In the end, but yeah, it's just flat. It's watered down beer. Very standard kind of cereal corny smell.
How about Keith?
I put down like they're drinkable. I mean, it's not really off-putting. It's just not anything really there. So you could pound like 8 gallons of this stuff and it's
Wow.
I think you're really right, though. Keone, what do you think about it?
To me, this beer is very grainy. I think it's corn. I'm not corn. I mean rice. It kind of a sweet grain. Doesn't seem like there's much malt or hops to it. It reminds me a lot of like carbonated water with a little bit of beer to it, but mostly just the adjunct part of it, anyways. I say for people who want a natural experience, I would go with the natural ice. But this is still a pretty decent light beer.
Yeah, it's kind of like seltzer water, huh?
Yeah.
Now, up there, up north, I know y'all are on a little bit of a time situation, Charles. And we're glad to have you back. I know you've been busy, and John, who's getting a big old beard going there. Now, but I can't talk because I've done that many times. This is my knee right here because it's warm, and we're wearing shorts this week.
Well, we are too.
What do y'all think about natural ice? Natural light. You've had it many times, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Chuck.
It's the champagne of a hot, sweaty summer day. It's not something. It's not really a go-to beer, but when it's hot enough, it's going to go down smooth, and it's not going to be terrible. And
it's cheap.
It's cheap, and you're going to get what you want out of it. So, it's not bad for a light beer. 2 thumbs up.
Family time. Well, that's good though. John?
Well, I pride myself in being probably one of the most foremost persons on frickin' light beer, and but I'll tell you, to me this is awesome. It's a great beer. I don't think you're gonna tell the difference between this and a Bud Light, in my opinion. I
was going to bring that up.
Side by side comparison and tell the difference.
I was about to talk about that.
But I think you're buying a Bud Light at a cheaper price. It's enjoyable beer. It's like Chuck said. It's a warm weather beer. I know it's cold in Wyoming, but it's 70 degrees here. It's just an awesome beer, and I enjoy it. I'm not going to buy it all the time, but
Now, when John at Zone 1 says it's an awesome beer, he's saying that in the context of a light beer.
Yes.
You're not saying it's West Lateran 12.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm judging this beer for what the beer is. And to me, when I'm judging a light beer or a West Lateran 12 or whatever you want to judge, you got to judge the beer for what it is. And I'm judging this for what it is. It's an awesome beer.
Okay. And I know you drank a number of light beers when you were in New Orleans earlier this year.
Yes, with you, buddy. Yes, we did.
Yeah. Well, I was drinking Mickey's.
Yeah.
but which is not exactly real heavy anyway. Now, Eric, up there in the Northeast.
All right, I have
Thomas Metal.
I have this tapintoyourbeer.com website, which is the official Anheuser-Busch Inbev website to get all of your Anheuser-Busch beer information and Inbev beers. They say the ingredients for this beer are water, corn, rice, and or dextrose syrup, barley malt, hops, hop extract, malt extract, and yeast. Not really here to bash the name of the beer, calling it natural, but I don't really know how dextrose syrup is natural. But anyways, now on to the actual beer
Well,
itself.
that's just a syrup that comes from corn.
But somebody, I mean, it doesn't come natural from the earth, is what I'm saying. But anyways, that's
Oh
true.
no, but I mean it's not a
A
chemical.
byproduct from something in nature. Yeah, true. But this is, to me, I mean, obviously, we all know, we're not huge light beer connoisseurs, but it's, to me, just my overall impressions of the beer is there's some of that corn and that graininess. To me, there's a little bit of a sweetness before I notice that the beer finishes fairly dry. There's a touch of malt, and it's ever so slightly bitter in the finish. It's not off-putting, but there's nothing really like outstanding about the beer. It's not, to me, it's not mind-blowing. It's not life-changing. But again, it's not designed to be any of those things. It's meant to be a refreshing beer for a low alcohol by volume at a cheap price. And if that's what you're looking for and you're stripped short on cash, I would totally, go for this beer. If light and watery and you're very, very thirsty and that's what you're concerned about, this could be the stuff for you on a budget. Totally.
Yeah, and in my opinion, is exactly what all of y'all were saying. Now,
Now, can I say something real quick, Jay?
yes.
In 2014, Natural Light was the number 5 selling beer in the world. It sold
In America.
$164,102,000 in sales.
It's no joke. I mean, I work at a store, and I watch this stuff fly out of the store. I mean, these people buy this stuff like mad. And I talked to I was talking to a bulk merchandiser for Anheuser-Busch distributor, and he was telling me, he said, oh, man, it's like constantly selling. They sell these cool-looking little 12-ounce bottles, which I do love these bottles.
Those are nice-looking bottles. You can get them in Tennessee, and I almost bought some last time we was down there. Those are the old cone top bottles.
Yeah, we get these everywhere, and it's thin glass, like they say. 30% less glass for the environment. Yeah, well, more like for their bottom line. But
This is how you drink this beer right here.
Oh yeah, Eric's gonna do some stunt drinking. But you get these in 25-ounce cans, 40-ounce bottles, 32-ounce bottles, 12-ounce bottles, 12-ounce cans. Everything, every kind of vessel you would ever imagine, you can get it in a keg. You can order it from a store in a keg or a half keg, and people do that a lot for college tailgating, football tailgating, and barbecues and hangouts. It's a pretty cheap beer, but it doesn't taste like junk.
Isn't that probably the whole reason why it's such a high-selling beer in this country? Is because it is so economically priced. If it was $7 or $8 or even $6, I don't know, maybe if it was between $7 or $8 for a six-pack, I don't think it would be such a selling beer as it is, though. I think the price has everything to do with this beer.
That's right. People have broken the code. They figured out that it tastes as good as Bud Light, but it's 30% less.
Well, there's nothing off-putting about it.
Yeah. Do they even market this beer anymore? I never seen ads for it.
No marketing for this beer whatsoever.
Right.
Only marketing it gets is point of sale. Like you'll see signs and stuff. You'll see those kind of things at the store, or they have rebates. Buy this.
Yeah, I'll notice these Natty Ice posters outside of beer stores. It'd be 24-ounce can Natty Ice, 99 cents. I'll notice that a lot.
Right, so it gets point of sale advertising, but it doesn't get any television or radio advertising attention, and apparently it doesn't need it.
But like you said, Jay, it don't need it. It's the number 5 selling beer last year.
Correct.
Well, you don't need to spend. Inbev doesn't need to spend millions of dollars on advertising when you got the number 5 selling beer, the number 1 selling beer, the number 2 selling beer, and the number 4 selling beer. I mean,
this beer sells itself.
Why waste money on advertising when, like you said, it sells itself?
And one other thing I'll bring up that's not really related to that. This beer has always had a horse collar and you ever notice that? They're always showing a horse collar on it and boomerangs. Now, I understand the horse collar because they have the Clydesdales pulling the wagon. But what is the natural line of beers how is that related to boomerangs? Like, if you get on the website, it says the natural family, and you see the Natty Daddy and the Natty Ice and the Natty Light. But what's up with the boomerangs?
If you look at the boomerangs, that's the same boomerangs that Bud Light has on it.
Bud Light.
Yeah.
It does-
Bud Light makes a boomerang just like the Natural Light can. It doesn't show it on a can, but it does. The whole thing is just like what you got right here. It's the boomerang effect of Bud Light.
I'm not aware of any Bud Light boomerangs, but
Trust me, it is.
okay, I'm gonna do some research. Now, this bottle does have a born-on date, which is convenient. Put the date, guys, and it's always kind of had the same color scheme, the blue with the red, and it used to have gold highlights. If you remember, back until the mid-'90s, had the gold highlights, kind of the old. And John was showing some old cans and stuff this week, and we were looking at that. But the last thing to wrap this up, because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask if you would buy it again, because we all know the answer. We would buy it like if we knew somebody that liked it or something, but we ain't going to run out. We're not going to run out and buy it because we want to drink it.
It would be a good beer to buy for a tailgate to share with friends. Definitely.
Yeah. But the question I really want to ask is, do you think these dedicated Bud Light drinkers could really tell this apart from a Bud Light or a Miller Light or a Coors Light in a blind taste test? People that would openly put it down.
Yeah.
Natural Light, that trash.
I don't know.
Give them a blind taste test. Could they really tell it
I
apart?
don't know if anybody would put the beer down, but and I'm obviously not sitting in front of a couple of different light beers to really tell, but I think that to me at least, this is one of the more I don't want to use the term watered down, but it has the most watery type feel out of any light beer that I ever recall ever having.
Yeah.
Before in my life. So I think if you had, say, a Miller Light and you compared it to, you only had Miller Light and Natural Light in your tasting, I think you could tell that the Natural Light is definitely way lighter in the mouthfeel than that Miller Light. But that could be just me thinking that.
I'd like to see it happen now. Beer Cup and Michelle, do you think the average person could really tell it apart?
I don't think so. I think it's interesting what Eric was saying about watered down, because when we had the microphone muted, Paul turned to me and said, "It tastes like you poured a Coors beer over ice and the ice melted."
Yes.
So, in terms of it is kind of watery. I don't know because I don't drink light beers enough to have a sense of what the other ones taste like anymore. It's not bad. It's just not good. So
Yeah.
it's okay. And if somebody really likes this, they may really like this.
You can't be friends with Miss Stitches.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, there'll be a lot of unfriending happening after tonight. But
Yeah. But I'm openly saying it's not my cup of tea. So,
I don't think it's anybody's cup of tea on here. I will say
except for John.
Except for John.
My cup of tea.
I will say this. Eric said no wrist cutting over beer. I will say this. The Natty Daddy, the 8%, and they have a 5.9% floating around, not here anymore, but the 8% Natty Daddy is the same ingredients as this beer. So it's interesting how they take this little 4.2 alcohol beer and they jack it up to 8%.
What do they do? Shove more sugars or fermentables in it, probably?
No, they said they use it. Well, that's true. They could use more of it, but they're saying they use the same. They're saying they use the same exact ingredients, but they just make it. What do they say? They always Anheuser-Busch uses terms like bolder. It's a bolder beer. They don't want to say like
more sugar.
Boozy.
Yeah, that term.
More sugar and yeast, Jay, to make it a higher percentage alcohol.
More corn syrup
Right, yeah, probably.
and barley malt, because if you ever drink the Natty Daddy, it's definitely not a light beer.
Those high gravity beers always have a
Is Natty Daddy not kind of their version of a malt liquor?
yes, I believe so.
But I will say this: if you get on the website for Natural Light, they very prominently feature all three beers. So they're not hiding from the brand. They're saying, here's the natural family, and they give a pretty detailed description of each of the beers, so it's interesting. And then there's a whole section called history where they go through all the ads, showing all the old advertisements, and when each beer was introduced, and they're showing how Natural Light is a social beer, and they're showing people playing beer pong. I mean, they're not, well, they are playing beer pong, but they're not saying it explicitly, although if you look at the picture, you obviously know what they're doing with quarters all over the table. But, oh, well, you know, I guess we've examined this enough. It is what it is. No one said it tastes bad. It just doesn't have a lot of taste. But when I read reviews on, like, Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, people will type in and say, this stuff has no flavor. Come on, it does have flavor. It just doesn't have a lot of flavor.
You got to judge it for what it is. I mean, you can't. You can't you can't judge it off like you said it was for like 12, but you know, I mean.
Unfortunately, you're not really going to get a. I don't want to say anybody specifically, so I won't. You're not going to get if you're going to try to look up this beer, a beer review of Natural Light on YouTube, and you're going to try to watch a really crafty beer show, and they're going to try to talk about Natural Light. Well, they're going to drink the beer, and they're just going to go, ew, either ew, that's gross, or it tastes like virtually nothing. And to me, that you're already getting a biased review before you even click on the YouTube video to watch it. You're already going to get a biased review that this is a horrible beer or there's nothing to it.
Right. Yeah, I can understand if somebody says, well, this beer's dull to me, so I'll give it a 2 out of 5, something like that. But don't get on there and say, oh, this is horrible. It's a 0 out of 100. Come on, man, a 0 out of 100. Are you kidding me?
That's over $1 billion worth of beer in 1 year, and the beer's horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this isn't a horrible beer. It's not, you know, it's not like, woohoo, something to get excited about. It's not horrible.
You can't really pick one thing about the beer and its flavor or in its construction that makes it bad tasting.
Now, this is like a Big Mac. It's okay. When I eat a Big Mac, it's okay. But today I ate I ate a burger from Rally's, and it was bad. That thing tasted bad, and I felt sick for hours. Hey, but to compare a beer to something from Rally's is like you would have to get like Frio Light or Game Day Light. I ate that burger from Rally's, and I was like, I told this guy at work that was sitting next to me, I said, Pablo, this burger was bad. I said, I'll never go back to that place again. I'm sorry, Rally's and Checkers, but I'm just giving you an honest fast food review, and I did not like it. And I could go to Wendy's and get a 99-cent junior cheeseburger, and it tastes way better, and I don't feel sick for 3 hours. So I would say the 99-cent Wendy's junior cheeseburger is comparable to this Natural Light. I will be quiet now.
Jake, we got to get off here, bub.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. And next week we're looking at a much higher a much higher, a slotted beer called Kronenbourg 1664, which I think will be very interesting.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Never had it.
That is excellent beer. That beer.
I doubt I'll be able to get it.
Don't be negative, now. Don't be negative. You might find it.
I think you can get it, Keone. I think it's more common than you would expect.
That'll be a good beer to try, yeah. I like all those European lagers. I would much prefer to go, even for an Amstel Light, than Natural Light.
Oh, yeah, I like Amstel Light. We ought to examine that one night.
That would be you got to write that one down.
And Heineken Dark. Hey, then nobody will show up because nobody will.
I was tempted to do a review on Heineken Dark when I was in Hawaii. I seen it there.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good beer the last time I had it.
If we do an examination, we'll have 3 people because nobody will be able to find it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. You would think, Jay, that some of these beers that you come up with that we want to review are a little bit more nationally distributed. You would think so.
I know, it's shocking. No one could get the Anchor Old Foghorn, and I mean it's like a big pain in the.
On the shelf everywhere where I was in Massachusetts, everywhere that Old Foghorn.
Now, Beer Cup and Michelle, can y'all get Kronenbourg 1664?
I know I've seen it in Colorado. I don't think I've seen it around here.
Oh, heck.
But Fort Collins is just a little bit over a half hour away, so if we head that way between now and then, we can grab one. Just don't know if we'll be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wyoming is like a big state as far as land size, but the population is not that big. It was like 700,000, something like that.
600,000.
Yeah, so it's like New Orleans is 1 million people in the metro area, so you would expect we would have a higher amount of selection because it's more concentrated people in a smaller area.
We're still, we're still live. So if anybody's actually watching this video production, and I'm sure Jay would appreciate it. If anybody has any ideas of anything or any requests that maybe we should do, send us a comment or send Jay a message, and maybe Jay will consider us doing it on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's a good idea for people to send requests of what to examine. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
I have a request, and you're not going to believe this when I tell you. I don't think I've ever actually had Chimay.
Yeah.
Which, I love those styles of beer, but I just always have something else, and I think that's one that's nationally available, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I
don't know if you've ever done it, but I was just thinking of something that I know I've seen I saw it in North Carolina. I see it around here.
I'm gonna write that down for February 3rd. How about Chimay Grand Reserve, the big high alcohol version?
I like the alcohol.
Now.
I'm gonna have to rip money on that. It's gonna be like $23.
No. You can get a little 12-ounce, a little 11.2-ounce bottle for about $5.99.
You don't even drink that.
11.2s, but I don't know if I see the Chimay Grand Reserve.
Yeah, that's the blue label, and we can get the big bomber bottles for about $11.
Yeah, it's probably more commonly known, like Jay said, it's probably more commonly known as Chimay Blue.
Jay, how about St. Peter's, man? St. Peter's organic English ale, or
that's a problem because I can get it, but most people will never be able to get it.
Really, that seems to be very.
They come in those medicine bottles, and they look cool,
Yeah.
I'd like to do it, but I don't know. I think that one could be a real.
Really?
That's St. Peter's.
I think at one point I might have mentioned to you, I don't know if it was off air or not, but maybe trying to do Harp Lager.
That one's becoming less common because.
Really?
Well, with the onset of the Guinness American Blonde Lager.
Yes.
They kind of like shoved Harp out the way. But I did a review of Guinness Blonde American Lager the other day, and I'm going to post it. And that was really good.
I've been tempted to pick that up. I just never done it.
Someone type out what are you saying? Someone type out the name of the beer. St. Peter's.
St. Peter's. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's from England. They have a whole line of beers. They have a stout.
Was that Blonde American Lager. I had the Harp. I just recently had the Nitro IPA. I actually did a review on it. I didn't post it yet, though.
Oh, I'm going to watch that. I love that beer.
I loved it, too.
But
people might be mad. I gave it a little bit too high of a rating, I think.
Oh, well. It's English style, and people are expecting...
they're expecting some kind of extreme tasting IPA.
They're expecting Stone IPA, but they're getting Guinness.
Nitro. They're getting real IPA.
The original style. Well, with the original.
Original, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and I think after this I will get a natural ice because I do prefer the natural ice. It has more body, more flavor. It just has better everything, but it doesn't have a whole lot of calories.
Merry Christmas.
Natural ice all day.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all those good things. Drink responsibly on Friday.
Yes, everybody be careful and be safe and have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. See you guys later.
We'll probably see y'all even before the New Year. Okay, goodbye, folks.